Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder, to the first impressions on the Scherbakov, the reward ship of the 2023 April Fool's crafting event. The question is the ship worth it? Is it maybe a talisman candidate? What is it capable of? So here are basically the TLDR at the start, so that you can leave the video or just know what you're looking for when you look at the gameplay. This is a first impressions, not a dedicated in-depth ship review, and the reason for that is because the ship is very similar to a lot of the other already in the tech tree existing Project 68 light cruisers. It's a good ship, and it's an absolute nightmare and one of the most frightening light cruisers that you can encounter when you are in the Helena, which is the gold standard currently at 6.0, sadly mostly driven by bots. You can really rip out big chunks of health, hit points, crew, whatever you want to name it. However, the ship is also very capable versus other light cruisers and destroyers. It's also really good versus aircraft thanks to the combination of radar, very powerful AA, and proximity for the 6 twin 100mm guns. The main artillery has no proximity fuse shells, which is a little bit of a shame. And the thing is, this is a good talisman candidate if you're in the right position. If you already are beyond rank 3, you're at rank 4, and you do not have the money for that Scherbakov, which is the premium Project 68 of rank 4, then you can consider putting one on there. If you already have the Maxim Gorky with a talisman, which is the 2020 summer reward ship, then you have a better ship when it comes to the main artillery in terms of effectiveness and penetration, damage output, and also you have a lower battle rating, so you have usually better map rotation, better opponents to shoot at, because the Scherbakov, and I made that experience often enough so that it's worth mentioning, if you get up to it, it's self-explanatory why you have no fun at all versus 7.0 or 6.7 battle cruisers, battleships, whatever. But even 5.7 to 6.3 heavy cruisers can be an absolute nightmare. For example, the USS Des Moines, the USS Newport News, but also the likes of Baltimore, Pittsburgh, New Orleans. If they just angle, especially at range, you cannot really damage them even with your AP. You can obviously damage them, but you cannot really have think of having a realistic chance of killing them, except if they are already heavily damaged. If they are shooting somebody else, don't shoot them, focus on something else so you do not draw their attention. Something like a Des Moines can just punch clean through your armor, even at long range, even if you angle perfectly. And that is where the fun ends. And I mention this specifically because this is something of a scenario that occurs to you almost every battle. You're an absolute monster versus, for example, the German light cruisers of, let's say, the Leipzig, Nuremberg, Köln, Karlsruhe, you know, but they are rarely present in battles in the first place. However, let's now talk about what makes the ship what. So first of all, your armor. You have an armored belt of 100mm, and that is also true for your bulkheads. So you can angle this to the most effect with 45 degrees. And also your barbettes are tough with 130mm, and turret faces being angled with 175mm are also really tough but not unbreakable. Your deck plating is 50mm, and then there is above this a 70mm plating that has no side plating, so a lot of shells can just get in between, which is awkward, but that's just the ship's design. Yeah, then let's talk about your internals, and yeah, the magazine is above the waterline, so you definitely can get ammo racked, and 100mm is all that protects your magazine from enemy hostile fire. You have a good AA variety. You have 6 twin 100mm SM51 cannons, 3,600 rounds. The ammunition is very interesting. I'll talk about this before I talk about the main artillery. So you have a G shell, you have a proxy fuse, and you have a time fuse, and then you have a base fuse, which is very potent with 1.77 kilograms of TNT. That really helps your main artillery, which is also some of the best 6-inch shells that there are. The HE shell, very potent, comparable to US 6-inch HE with 6 kilograms. The time fused has even more yield with 10 kilograms, but it's time fused. And then you have what I use mostly, as you can see, that is the AP and the SAP. The AP is potent. It has more or less double the TNT of the US 6-inch AP with 1.7 kilograms of TNT, but it lacks the penetration to really threaten other heavy cruiser, or that it threatens heavy cruisers to begin with. You have to think about 150 millimeters of armor being penetrated, and then the shell having enough energy to get into the guts of the ship to then detonate where it really hurts. And so I have not been even able to ammo rack a more or less point blank range perfectly broadside Des Moines. Sure, I damaged it, I knocked out the turrets, I knocked out the barbettes, but I did not make the ammo rack go boom with multiple salvos. So that's a problem. Yes, you can kill the likes of Admiral Hipper or Prince Eugen, you know, but also Polar and Zara, some of the, in my opinion, worst heavy cruisers that there are, you cannot really pen them except if they're broadside on, and then you have to really pump in a lot of shells throughout the various parts of the ship. You cannot go for the one salvo kill. So, but then we have to talk about the Helena. The Helena currently is one of the most wild appearing light cruisers out there, in masses, driven by bots, and so they are what you really have to feed on. And this is where your SAP comes in really handy. I'm not quite sure what makes the shell so potent versus Helena's, but it's just an observation. So nearly 6 kilograms of TNT equivalent bursting charge is a lot. And then you have a fuse sensitivity of 7 millimeters and a fuse delay of 0.03 seconds. If you aim for the Helena's region between the frontal firing group and the superstructure, and you aim for the lower hull, you do just absurd amounts of damage, and then you just can clean up the Helena with a little bit of AP or HE spam to the superstructure, knock out the turrets, and be done with it. And it's scary how big the damage is that you can do to those ships. And you need to do this because you don't have torpedoes, you have no rockets, missiles or anything, you have no mines, no depth charges, you're a purely artillery focused ship, and you're good at that, but you're still a light cruiser. And this is where then, if you have the Maxim Gorky as the Project 26 class, where we also have the Kirov and the Voroshilov already in the game, you know, the 180 millimeter guns, they just have more than almost 100 millimeters more of pen and significantly more bursting charge. The SAP is also more potent with 7 kilograms, and the HE as well. The reload difference is there, 11 seconds versus 8 seconds on your 6-inch guns on the Scherbakov. You have only 9 guns compared to the Scherbakov's 12 guns. But you also have torpedoes on the Maxim Gorky, and you have a lower battle rating, meaning you see less up tiers where it really hurts, and you can at least have a realistic chance of significantly damaging those said heavy cruisers with their thick armor. So overall, the ship is great and capable. The AA with the radar is potent, but it's not on the level of Helena or the likes with, you know, the really great 5-inch 38 secondaries with their brutal proximity fuse shells. You kind of feel the lag, but overall the ship is capable. Is it something for new players? Not really. It's a little bit picky. You know what fights to pick and how to do this and what not to do. The do's and don'ts. It's not a super frustrating ship. It's definitely capable of racking up the kills under the right circumstances. But over half of the battles that you get thrown into, it's either those huge maps where you have a lot of difficulty doing damage with AP, or it's just that you get focus fired and then you just melt. And the same is then when you see up tiers, and then again you just melt or outright explode, and that's not fun. So this is one of those battles that I have chosen to show you. One final thing, let's talk about the economy. The most or the highest civil line modifier in the game is the premium ships, such as the Scherbakov, Hipper, Polar, whatever, and they have a 4.0 times 2.0 civil line modifier. So without a premium account, you're looking at 800% income, and with a premium account, it's 1200% income. Also the Moffats, etc. The Scherbakov, like a lot of the rank 5 cruisers, has a 6.0 modifier. As a non-premium ship, that is 3/4 of the highest in the game, and so you're still looking at some silver line. However, the repair cost, just like with the Chapayev, just like with the Mikhail Kutuzov and the Sverdlov, is around the 25,000 silver line mark. In this case, fully upgraded, it's 25,239 silver lines. So you need to make money to pay the repair cost. And yeah, the ship is good, but if it's absolutely worth it is up to you. And that's it for me today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you found this video informative. If you did, please give it a like. For you it's just a click, for me it means the world. Subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the ship, and as usual, we will see each other on the battlefields, in the skies, and on the waves of War Thunder.